6:01. This is the, for the first time in a long time, the in-person meeting of the Town of Woodbridge Board of Finance. I can't remember the last time I was here. This is Thursday, December 21st, and the first item on our agenda is public comments. Are there any public comments? Okay, then I would like to make a motion that we go out of order and look at items 4 and 5 because David Stein is here and on a time frame. So, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Yep.
All right. Okay, Dave,
All right.
get to it.
Okay, well, good evening. Thank you for moving the agenda for me. I appreciate that. So I believe you have at least some within your packet of the presentation that we did give to the Board of Selectmen. And we've been working with the building committee throughout the fall on evaluating two parts at Beecher Road. One which is a roof replacement, and just sort of putting in an historical context, the last major roof replacement we were a part of in 2000, which was the lower part of the school. So that has still in good shape, and as expected, sort of performing that way. And sort of the remaining piece of the oldest portions of the roofs that are aged past what the state will allow in terms of reimbursement, past its 20-year lifespan, is identified in your packet. Our team, Silver Petroselli, does about 25 school roof replacements a year. It's sort of a little niche market for us. And the numbers that we have presented to you represents a full roof replacement that would allow full reimbursement based on the town's or Beecher's reimbursement rate. The intent is that through your approval and final town authorization, we would help the Board of Education submit an application to the Office of Grants Administration, in which that is submitted on sort of a monthly basis. They're considered non-priority projects, even though roofs are a priority when they leak. They designate them as non-priority projects. And from there, we would help submit that application. And then the intent is that once a project number is issued by the state, we will assist in bidding the project with the intent of doing this work over the summer. The numbers that you see presented is what we consider to be sort of the medium range, but it could come in sort of 10 to 20% higher than what's sort of predicted, based on the pace of the market at the moment. And it's not necessarily escalation or such like you have in some of your other construction projects, because actually the roofing materials have stabilized over the past year. 2 years ago, we were hard to source any roof insulation, and that was a challenge to get to. Right now, it's just based on getting on the contractor schedules, the major contractors that are bonded to do school construction projects. So the earlier we get out on the street, as we say, the better we'll lock in those contractors and be ready for, call it a mid-June start of construction, which would take us right into the fall or right into the beginning of the school year, which there'd still be some minor work that's going to be done. Just in general, as part of the scope of work, again, it's a full roof replacement. We're taking this fully down to the main superstructure, the main roof deck. The mechanical units that are up there are staying in place, and we're just sort of flashing around that. So, and we are adjusting some of the drainage. We're meeting the code in terms of the pitch, the low slope pitch on that roof, and we are providing secondary drainage, so we are improving some of the design elements that exist on there to bring it sort of more contemporary and meet today's current code. So with that, I don't know if there's any questions just related onto the roof piece, and then, I'm happy to move on to the site development piece.
I have a question on the roof.
Yes.
Your construction cost $1.4 million. We're asking the town for $1.520 million. What is that a contingency? Is that Bonding costs?
There's bonding costs, contingency, some design costs, design-related costs. I think those are the major items.
And then out of the 1,420,000, I'm assuming that's pure construction. That's basically what, if you go out to bid, that's basically where you're playing that.
That is correct, and that has a contingency already built into that
How much
number.
of a contingency do you have built in there? Just
We
curious.
usually, at this time, we have a 10% contingency.
Okay,
that's
so you got
built
about
in.
130, 140, something like that?
That's correct.
And then what about roof deck replacement?
We.
Everything, every time we used to do one, I'd worry about the roof deck, and all of a sudden you start opening it up, and all of a sudden you got damages to the roof deck, you got rusting to the roof deck and everything else, so.
Yeah, great question, and yes, that is common practice. We have 5% allowance that we
For
built
that, for the
in
roof deck
for the
replacement.
roof deck replacement, yeah. So our total cost of that 1.4 includes the general conditions for the contractor, their overhead and profit, and then the contingency portion. We did environmental testing, and the good news is there isn't anything within the flashing, so that sort of reduced your
That's good,
overall
yeah,
risk
okay.
of the project and so forth. So, roughly this is coming in at about $37 a square foot, which is pretty consistent with a roof
Okay.
of, total roof replacement that we're talking about of about 30,000 square.
Okay. And I see you did some cutouts of the existing roof to actually check. Did you check on all the roofs, or was just specific?
We took a few field cuts related to the abatement portion of the project. And then we did a full test cut so we could look directly at the deck. From there, we saw it was in good condition, but to
Okay.
your point, we still include that 5%
Right,
allowance.
okay.
That is part of the contractor's work. If that's not expended, then the money just comes back to
back,
you. It's just
right.
unspent
Right,
dollars.
yeah, okay. No, that's good, okay. I'm fine.
Okay, so on to the site development piece of this. So we have partnered in and brought in Fuss and O'Neill, civil engineering and landscape architect team to work with us on evaluating all of the conditions around the site. So, and they were part of a preliminary study that was done in a few years back. So we brought them in just for the continuity of having the same team that has a long history with the school. And through that, we've seen additional sort of erosion and deterioration of just really the surface areas around the entire building. This is really just a byproduct of growth that happens with all the vegetation so close to the building and the activity. You actually use your property, all around. And with that, it gets trampled, it gets sort of hard packed. And with that, there never was any drainage around the perimeter of the building. It was sort of a natural progression. This building has sort of grown, and it's a byproduct of the topography that's already there. So with that, and especially over these past few years and this year, we have had enormous amount of rainfall in a short period of time, which has exacerbated the issue of having just enormous amount of sheet flow, as we call it, around the building and around the sidewalks and so forth. So with that, the recommendations that have been put forth, and we've segregated these into sort of a high, medium, low priority. We felt that that was a good approach to at least think of that from the beginning, but knowing that we would really tackle this as an entire project, is to create different improvements around to address basically the erosion that's in certain areas, improve sidewalk improvements, accessibility improvements, and create places where that water could actually sit, dissipate, drain, and then filtrate out into different areas. About a third of this project actually is the upper parking lot, which is in need of repair. So that improves accessibility and just the overall deterioration of that. There's, it's really at a point of its end of its useful life. So with that, we are sort of predicting a range of construction at about 1.16 to call it 1.5. These are preliminary numbers. We have not, we haven't taken this as, these are schematic design where the numbers that you have for the roof were, those are construction document dollars. So we have done a full itemized estimate for that, and the state requires us to do so for that submission. Here, where it's a bit more conceptual, but, when you look at the order of magnitude that we have prepared and Fuss and O'Neill's experience with tackling this type of project, I do want to point out that both of these projects our recommendation is they're two separate projects. The roof project would get its own state reimbursement, and it would be run by a roofing contractor. The site project would be bid out separately to a site contractor. It'd be much more efficient that way than having one contractor manage that. Now, the two could run parallel in some regard, but we have to, we really want to get the guys off the roof so the site guys could do their thing, and it's possible that the site guys are working on the other side of the property while the roof is going on. So that could be organized and managed efficiently if the two were sort of starting simultaneously in summer of 2014. So with that I'll sort of turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman, if there's any questions. I know it's just a brief overview, but if I overlooked anything, I'm happy to,
The only question I have on this site improvement project,
yeah.
who will be overseeing this? In other words, the roof is, you can watch them put a roof on it. You've got 50 things here, or more. Who will be monitoring that as they do these 50 things?
Well,
Is Fuss and O'Neill gonna be involved?
yeah, so Fuss and O'Neill would be involved in doing that in terms of the amount of visits and such that are needed. That's something that can be determined. This is a project that potentially you would want to consider having a clerk of the works, and then Fuss and O'Neill is there on, a weekly basis, once a week, as opposed to, being out there 30 to 40 hours a week. It really depends on the efficiency of that and so forth. But you definitely need some oversight, and Fuss and O'Neill definitely would be the engineer of record to review and sign off on those conditions.
We do have money in the budget for a clerk of the works.
Yeah, I think you need one
Yeah.
for this.
For that part, yeah.
Okay.
Is it anticipated that both these projects can be completed in the summer?
No, I think that both will, just because of planting and such, you're really sort of bound by that planting season. So if you're starting in the summer, once school is out, you're sort of out of some of that, you're not gonna be really planting and doing any of your finish work until the fall, and you might be at the tail end of that to do so, so you may have to round out based on phasing. And knowing that we don't want to block entryways or exitways or pathways, the parking lot is definitely one area that you clearly would start and do over the summer. So we'll have to work on a sequence that is built into the bid specification so contractors know the
But you
timeline.
anticipate that the roof can be finished?
The roof absolutely could be
All the
done.
roofs could be finished.
All the roof work.
Should
could
be
done.
able to.
Yeah. There will be some substantial completion items that would work their way in the fall, but essentially the roof would be dried in, and any work that they would need to do, there's still enough daylight that they would be able to do that after school hours.
Thank you.
And then again, my question is, Tony, the $1,750,000, that includes
Borrowing
Contingency,
costs, contingency,
bond
correct.
costs, bonding costs?
Right. I divided it amongst the two projects based on their totals.
And it includes the maintenance plan for the trees, tree maintenance, the cost is included in here?
That's
Yes.
included in that. We're recommending that may be done as a separate project with the tree maintenance program as opposed to the general contractor. We estimated that could be somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 to do that tree trimming work.
But
And
that's
that could,
included in the number,
Yes.
though?
but that's
Yeah.
included in the number, and that work could actually start, if we decide to, that could
You
start
can
at
do
any,
it- you
that
can
could
do it
start
almost
at
any
any
time.
time.
And then you're gonna be replanting trees
There's-
as they go, or that's my, and you gotta do it in the planting season, which is normally probably fall.
It brings us into.
Yeah,
we're-
September, October, no, somewhere in there, it was where you would be, right?
Mid-October, yeah, we're
Yeah.
really pushing it if we're getting close to Halloween,
Right,
so.
yeah, okay,
Mhm.
okay. Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Okay,
Great, thank you.
Thank you,
See
David.
everyone, happy holidays.
same to you.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, so now we can get back to our agenda. Item 2, Tony, Administrative Officer, Director of Finance. What else?
I have your monthly report for, through November. We have a estimated year of end surplus of just under $1 million, $985,000. The budget includes an allocation from your fund balance of $800,000, so there'll be a slight increase to our fund balance at the end of the year, which would bring it to, a little over 16%. The, some of the major items, one is, of course, interest income, which continues to do well, and we have a surplus there of about $250,000. We have a surplus in intergovernmental revenue, as we received funds from the State of Connecticut Revenue Sharing Account. That's an account that is based on a formula and is not guaranteed until after the budget process, so we really weren't aware of how much we would get from that. And so that's part of our surplus. We have a surplus in retirement due to changes made to our municipal retirement system after the budget process. That'll save approximately $100,000. And finally, Amity is reporting returning $451,000 to the town from their 23 operations. Those are our highlights.
Any questions for Tony?
This intergovernmental revenue from the MRSA just falls out of the sky?
No, it's a formula based on sales taxing receipts.
But
So-
you never know year to year what you're getting.
Well, because it's like towards the end of the formula. First it funds the auto, and then it funds another program, and then if there's more left over, eventually it comes to
I
this.
don't remember that one. Good, thank you.
Say 451 from the Amities?
Amity, yeah. 400, that's their, so they'll reduce our March payment by 451,000, yeah. So just a comment on the fund balances, the percentages are a little higher than our policy, so it's something to consider in the budget process, although I do recommend that you don't use it for operating expenses,
Got it.
because you find yourself with a problem the year after, as we've discussed many times. Right,
Okay,
Nothing wrong with a healthy fund balance, that's for sure.
right.
A lot of things on the
There's a lot of,
horizon.
that's right. That's correct.
Okay, what's the status of our audit, Tony?
I just got the final draft today. I went through it, made some edits and corrections. We are on time. We should have it finished by the end of next week. As an aside, there's there's a big problem filling those jobs in the audit firms, especially for municipal audits.
So we also do it.
Usually there's, I'm on the state board that reviews municipal finances, and usually there's a few, 3 or 4 towns that are late. This year, from last year, there was about 25 towns that were late with their audit.
Because they can't get
'Cause
auditors.
they can't get auditors,
Right.
not because there's financial problems, they just
Right.
can't find auditors,
Right, they're all getting out of it.
yeah.
Okay, any questions on the audit? Woodbridge Board of Ed financial report, we had a lot of that in our
Including your package, right?
Yep, and it looks like they're currently running a fairly significant surplus, which is always wonderful, but I'm sure if we asked the superintendent, she said, you don't know. 5 kids could move in that we don't know about, so don't get too excited. But thank you anyway for your hard work. All right, funding requests. All righty. Our first funding request is, request for funding 2324-11, and it's a contingency request in the amount of $22,525. You're gonna talk to us about this, Tony.
Yes.
But I will move acceptance of request for funding 2324-11 in the amount of $22,525.
Second.
Okay, go ahead, Tony.
So the town is part of the South Central Connecticut Regional Council of Governments. That Council of Governments has gotten a grant to fund 50% of a cybersecurity program that's designed to increase cybersecurity awareness and protections in all of their member towns. There are, I think, 15 maybe. Do you know how many of them?
15.
15, yeah. That, which includes West Haven, New Haven, Meriden, Orange, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is for a cybersecurity assessment and audit that the grant will pay 50% and the town will pay 50%. I highly recommend it. And it's for the town network, the police network, and the fire network.
Okay, any questions for Tony on this? He very rarely says, I highly recommend.
I highly recommend
I
it.
told the Board of Selectmen the
It's a
same thing.
constantly evolving,
You gotta take that.
it's
seriously.
constantly evolving, that's all I can
Sounds to
say.
me like all the auditors are now doing cybersecurity.
Yeah, so you're probably right.
I'm probably right.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. All those in favor? Next is a request for funding, again from our contingency. 2324-10 in the amount of $9,959. And it has to do with the fire department. It's funding for the emergency replacement of an air separator in the boiler room, which is, I guess, failed and it's damaged. So I'll move acceptance of request for funding 2324-10 in the amount of $9,959.
Second.
I just want to make a comment that, I
Yeah.
understand they're still having heat problems, or I don't know if that's
Yeah.
been, right?
Still having what?
Yeah, they're still having problems
Yeah.
Problems with their heat, so this
with the
may
heat.
be continued, I guess is. all I
They
can say.
haven't done this yet, though.
This they've done,
Oh, they did it?
yeah.
So
This-
we're approving this after it's done?
Correct, because, it
Okay,
was,
all right, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But still not right?
Well, I'm not sure they were just saying it was still cold.
Yeah, it's still cold over there.
There was an issue with the, I think, with the radiant heat, the pump for the radiant heat in the floor, because Saturday night, it was fine in the morning, and all of a sudden, it was like freezing at night.
Really?
And it couldn't get it going, so. Sean will be, I'm sure he'll be,
He'll be back.
he'll be back and asking for,
Right, and it's from '08, right? The equipment's from '08,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. All this is all original,
it's pretty
from
old.
the original, so.
It's,
Do you think
got a
this is
few
just a
years.
wear and tear issue, or
Yeah,
is there
it's a-
something damaged?
No, it's a wear and tear.
It's a wear and tear.
It's a sophisticated
15
heating
years old.
system, I'm sure.
It's 15 years, so it's been working for a long time, so it's, yeah.
Just
All right.
curious if there was damage.
Any other
Yeah.
questions? Oh. I thought somebody was asking me a question. All those in favor?
Okay.
All right, next comes the, and Tony's gonna guide me on this, because this stuff, we don't do it that often, but, the approval of the roof and the,
Resolution.
site improvements resolutions, okay, so.
We do them one at a time, you want to first waive the reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll take a motion, or I'll make a motion that we waive the reading of the entire text of the bond resolution.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So with that, we'll read this part now.
Just read, yeah. Introduce the resolution.
Okay, I would like to introduce the following resolution. It's a resolution appropriating $1,520,000 for replacement roofs at Beecher Road School and authorizing the issue of $1,520,000 bonds and notes to finance the appropriation. That's about it.
That's it, yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that the resolution be approved and recommended for adoption by the legal voters of the town at a town meeting to be called by the Board of Selectmen, and that said recommendation be communicated to the town meeting, including by correspondence of the chair. Do I have a second?
That's a second.
Okay. Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's approved.
Do the same thing with the
I
second.
have to also, I'd like to make a motion that we waive the reading of the entire resolution,
So moved.
okay?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'd like to introduce the following resolution. It's a resolution appropriating $1,750,000 for site improvements at Beecher Road School and authorizing the issue of $1,750,000 in bonds and notes to finance the appropriation. I'd like to now make a motion to approve the resolution, for the resolution to be approved and recommended for adoption by the legal voters of the town at a town meeting to be called by the Board of Selectmen, and that said recommendation be communicated to the town meeting, including by correspondence of the chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay.
That's it.
You just gotta try to sign it. All right. From there, we can go on to item 6, which is approval of minutes. Let me just get to that. Where did I put them down here? Nope. Bear with me. I don't have any of that. I know it could. I got it here. Okay. I will make a motion to approve the minutes of our November 16th, 2023 meeting as presented.
Second.
Okay, any corrections, adjustments, anything? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. This is the meeting dates?
Yep.
All right, we have in front of us a list of meeting dates that I will not be attending. But it's a lot of meetings, boy, I'll tell you.
I'll move acceptance
I appreciate that.
of the meeting
I don't know,
dates for
I can
2024.
vote, I can vote on this for the next board, right? Sure, why
You
not?
can, yeah, you can.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
Subject to you attending all the meetings.
Yeah, good luck with that. I'll watch him on 79. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good luck, everybody. All right, let's see.
Good luck.
Next comes the first selectman's report.
Thank you, Matt. I don't have any remarks per se to give everyone this evening. You always have, but this is my last meeting with you guys too. But,
You're leaving too, I forgot.
yep. We'll be watching
We're gonna,
79
yeah, we're gonna
together.
sail out of here together, yeah.
Yeah. However, I would like a point of personal privilege, if you would indulge me, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
Thank you. This being your last meeting, and you didn't want anything, and you were being really mean about it, no. I have for you, aside from the fact that I can't believe it's been 30 years. We looked
36.
up the dates, wow. Wowie zowie. Nan was here, I guess. So.
Russ was here when I started.
Yeah, well, anyway.
Did you have electricity?
Barely. We used to meet in this room, we used to meet in here when, the old town hall, it wasn't air conditioned, it was terrible. And we'd get Jerry Shaw would give us a little cup of water. That was it. Is Jerry here?
Frozen, right?
You remember that, Jerry? A little cup of Dixie cup, right? And it wasn't even cold, it was just water.
I have to say,
Yes, I'm sorry.
that's okay, I'm having fun. On a personal note, I really have to say it has been my honor and my privilege to work with you over the
Same with
last
me,
number of years.
Beth, we've had a good time.
We've had our moments together where we've had battles, but it's always been, polite
For the best thing
and,
of the town.
yep, it's really been great. And you have always served the town well.
Thank you very much.
You've been steadfast in your opinions and in a good way and a bad way, and I really enjoyed you immensely. I'm sure all the members of the Board of Selectmen that are here as well as you guys too, so.
Thank you very much.
With that, I'd like to offer an official citation from the Office of the First Selectman, my last one, to Matthew Giglietti in recognition of his 30 years of service as a member of the Board of Finance, 1993 to 2023, given this date, 21st day of December, 21st, and signed by me. So with that, you can frame it any way you want.
Thank you.
Very
A little
nice.
something to remember you by. Remember us by.
I'll put this with my Living Treasure Awards, because I'm still living.
You need another
We're
wall
kind of
yet?
joined at the hip on that one. We're living together, right? That's right, you got it, so right, yeah.
We did.
So with that, thank you.
We both did.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any liaison reports? Anybody? Okay. Then, before we adjourn, I want to make a comment. One comment which I made earlier to this board, and I want to go on record with this. We've been tortured for the past 4 years with the mill rate in this town. And nobody ever bothered to notice that the grand list that it was based off of was done at the very worst time during the pandemic. And I remember my assessment went down, which was never in 50 years that I lived here, it went down. Well, the new Board of Finance is going to have the pleasure of, when the reval is done in October of '24, is it?
Correct.
This grand list will shoot through the roof. This will be the biggest increase, and I'm just going on record because it's going to be the biggest increase in the history of this town. I know my house, what it was worth, and now I'm getting these things in the mail, what they're saying it's worth. I'm up, it's a 60% increase in the value of my house. So the mill rate will tumble. The mill rate will tumble, and the grand list will grow, and people's taxes will go up, and you're going to hear that. But you're not going to have to hear about the mill rate anymore. It's something that's going to happen, and it's going to be a good thing, because we've heard it again and again that we have the fourth mill, and we don't have any services, and we don't do this, and our mill rate is so high. Well, that's going to end. That's going to end, and I'm looking forward to that. So.
Good.
And with that, I will thank you all, everybody at this table, and everybody here. We're all friends, for giving me a lot of memories. I could tell you a lot of stories, and like I said, I've been here since Russ. I was here when the unthinkable happened. Nan Birdwhistle won, and it was like, what? I mean, that can't be right. I think, if I'm not mistaken, she beat Paul Russ, and I think I just read recently he passed.
Yes.
He passed recently.
Yes, he
He
did.
did, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
he did.
true.
And it was an interesting 36 years. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second. So I'll make a
You
motion.
make it? Okay. I'll second it.
There you go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Very good.
And I'll be around